Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking a really close look at the world of Australian rules football.
Yep.
We're going deep into recent team strategies, some amazing player performances, those rule interpretations everyone talks about, and, the personal stories playing out in the league.
That's right. And our job today is basically to cut through all the noise, get you the most important bits of knowledge, the key insights. We've dug into a detailed article, Triunfos, Desafios y Táticas no AFL, and also some really interesting bits from a Collingwood YouTube video, Week in the Life of an AFL Debutant.
Okay.
So think of this as your shortcut, really. Understanding the big narratives, the tactics shaping the AFL right now will uncover some surprising stuff, and the human stories, too.
All right, let's get into it. First stop, Collingwood. I mean, you had to start there. Their dominance just keeps going.
It really does.
They absolutely thrashed their arch-rivals Carlton recently. Packed house at the MCG, and it looks like they're heading straight for the minor premiership.
Yeah, securing that top spot before finals.
And a massive part of that, Jamie Elliott, just phenomenal. Against Carlton, kicked 4 goals,
Incredible form.
which takes his season tally to 41 goals. That's a career high for him in 14 years. Just a standout season.
And, what's really telling about Collingwood's success, it's not just the stars like Elliott, it's how they bring through new talent like Roan Steele.
Ah, yes, the debutant.
Yeah, midfielder, pick 8 in the midseason draft, came over from West Perth in the Waffle, made his debut for the Magpies.
Big stage, too.
Huge stage. And he looked totally unfazed, came through it really well. It just, it says a lot about their whole system, their coaching, the culture, getting new guys ready to perform straight away.
And then you flip the coin, and you've got Carlton. Their horror season just seems to keep getting worse. Coach Michael Voss was pretty blunt after the Collingwood game.
Very honest.
Admitted, we let our club down tonight. Called it a really poor performance. You just know they're in for a rough week with the media. How much more can they take this season?
It's such a stark contrast, isn't it? Which brings us neatly to Collingwood's next big game, Friday night against Gold Coast.
Right, and this one is massive for the Suns.
Absolutely huge. People are calling it the biggest game in Gold Coast's history. They're fighting like mad to hang on to a final spot, which would be their first ever. So the stakes couldn't be higher for them.
And even though Collingwood's final spot is locked in, you reckon their coach, Craig McRae, might be a little uneasy.
I think so, yeah. And we saw a clue, maybe, against Carlton. Remember Jeremy Howe being subbed out?
Yeah, that was surprising.
Well, apparently it wasn't about his age or giving him a rest. It was called a strategic concession to Gold Coast. McRae was already thinking ahead, resting a key player, anticipating the challenge from the Suns' tall forwards.
Wow, planning that far ahead. That's a bit of a gamble, isn't it?
It is, because Gold Coast have this really dangerous tall forward line. Ben King, Jed Walter, and Ethan Reed.
And Reed's just hitting form.
Yeah, just had his best game yet, apparently. Knocked one down for a goal, kicked one himself. And Walter, well, he's described as maybe just a season away from really tearing games apart. They pose a serious aerial threat.
So that's the problem for Collingwood then. 3 genuine tall forwards against their defense.
Exactly. They've got the system, arguably the best defensive system in the league.
But the players, height-wise.
That's the issue. They might lack the personnel, the actual height. Darcy Moore is their only real tall defender. How he helps, he jumps incredibly high for his size.
Right, jumps to great height.
But he's still undersized against the monsters. And with Billy Frampton out injured and Charlie Dean dropped, their options look a bit thin. How do they stop that kind of attack?
That is the million-dollar question. It's a real tactical test.
It really is. And if you look ahead, they're going to have to rely on that system, that league's most effective defensive system, to get the job done against the Suns at home.
And Gold Coast are much better at home.
Vastly better
Yeah.
than anywhere else. So this game Friday night, it's like a window into how Collingwood plans to handle tall forwards with shorter defenders.
And that matters for finals too, right? You mentioned other teams.
Definitely. Adelaide, Geelong. They could also really stretch the Pies for height if they meet later on. So this isn't just about the Gold Coast game.
Okay, so looking at their likely backline, Moore, Howe, Maynard, Houston, Josh Dykos, Perryman, Quainer. Moore's the only genuine tall there.
Correct. So if Frampton stays out, you're looking at Howe and maybe Maynard playing on Paul's, getting a lot of help from Perryman and Quainer trying to intercept.
It's lucky Moore seems to be finding his best form again then.
Crucial. Getting back to that most confident and assertive form, they need him leading that defense.
What about if Frampton does become available later? He's tall, but maybe not quite the same talent level.
Well, that's the interesting selection headache, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you bring Frampton in for height, even if he's maybe less skilled than the others? It could even mean someone like Perryman, who's a first-choice defender, might have to push up into the midfield just to fit the necessary height in defense.
Shows the tough balancing act coaches have. Structure versus talent.
Exactly. It really highlights those deep strategic calls.
That kind of strategic thinking, playing the long game, it actually reminds me of another concept from the sources. Lose the battle, win the war.
Ah, yes. St. Kilda's situation.
Right. They lost Josh Battle to free agency, which is a blow short term.
Key backman for them.
But they got Alex Toru with the compensation pick they received. And the feeling is Toru could actually be a better player in the long run.
Gives every indication.
So for the Saints, getting an elite tall youngster for the future was maybe worth losing Battle now. And Hawthorne got a decent free agent in Battle too.
It really shows a shift, I think, in how clubs manage their lists now. Sometimes letting a good player go, if the compensation is right, lets you bring in someone who fits a future need even better. Especially elite talls, they're hard to find.
It's a calculated risk for future gain.
Precisely. The Saints played the long game there.
So how does that model apply elsewhere, like Carlton? They might lose Tom DeConing,
Yeah, that's looking likely.
and maybe his recent form, which hasn't been amazing, makes that departure a bit easier to swallow. The Saints example kind of offers a potential win-win view, even before you think about the salary cap space.
It does offer a different perspective. And then you look at Essendon with Sam Draper, their ruckman.
Right, contract talks ongoing.
The Bombers have apparently upped their offer, but word is it's probably still less than what clubs like Brisbane and Adelaide might put on the table.
And their top 4 clubs needing a ruck.
Exactly. So if Draper decides to leave, Essendon faces that immediate loss.
But the opportunity.
Well, they'd likely get a decent compensation pick. They could use that to target midfielders, maybe running players where they have gaps. And they could back in their younger rucks, Nick Bryan and Vigo Vesentini, or even keep veteran Todd Goldstein around for another year.
So it's a gamble, but it could reshape their list strategically.
Could pay off long term, yeah. If the young guys step up and they nail that draft pick.
Talking about draft picks and emerging talent. Toru, the Saints got for Battle. He's considered their best draftee since Nasiah Wanganeen-Malera.
High praise. And Wanganeen-Malera himself. What a talent, though. Interestingly, he's unsigned still, so potentially at risk of leaving St. Kilda.
But wow, did he show his class recently? Ross Lyon moved him on ball into the midfield against Hawthorn.
Strategic masterstroke, maybe? He was apparently clear best on ground, even though they lost.
Lyon sees him developing into an Andrew McLeod type, a great all-around player.
And the opposition coach, Sam Mitchell at Hawthorn, his reaction said it all. Nasiah Wanganeen-Malera, I'm going to have nightmares about him.
You know, players had an impact then.
Absolutely. And speaking of impact from positional moves, look at Miles Bergman at Port Adelaide. Saints and Essendon missed out on him. He moves into the midfield, transformed instantly into a seriously good player. Just clicked.
These positional shifts and player roles,
Yeah.
they lead us into another area under the microscope, the rules, specifically player-umpire contact.
Oh, yes, the Nate Caddy incident.
Yeah, he accidentally collided with an umpire during a game.
Sure.
But it seemed pretty clear the umpire plainly stepped into Caddy's path.
And the match review officer, the MRO, saw it that way too, called it an accident.
But the timing. This happened after the AFL brought in tougher penalties mid-season. Possible suspensions even for accidental contact with umpires.
Your irony is pretty thick, isn't it? This was the exact opposite scenario that AFL seemed worried about. The umpire initiated the contact here. It just shows, well, accidents happen.
They really do.
Yeah.
And it brings up Brad Scott's point, which he made before this, about umpires running through the corridor, that really busy part of the ground.
Yeah, his not unreasonable point. You kind of sense his frustration, maybe, that it hasn't changed.
Look, the AFL clearly felt they needed to do something. The number of umpires getting clattered into, sometimes used as screens by players, was going up.
True, change was probably needed.
But the big question, the controversy really, is should they have changed it mid-season? Suddenly players have these priors, they're vulnerable to suspension for something accidental. That seems tough.
Yeah, changing the goalposts mid-game, so to speak, it puts a lot of pressure on players.
Okay, shifting from rule controversies to really specific player roles making a comeback, the tagger.
James Jordan at Sydney. Wow.
He's been putting on some elite shutdown performances lately, held Ed Richards, who's been one of the best midfielders going around, to just 5 touches.
Incredible. And Port Adelaide's captain, Connor Rosie, kept him in single digits, too. It's like vintage tagging making a huge impact again.
And his job on Caleb Sarong from Fremantle was maybe even more impressive.
Tell me about it. Held Sarong to just 4 touches in the entire first half. Only 11 for the whole game.
But here's the amazing part. Jordan didn't just shut Sarong down. He kicked 2 goals himself in that first half while doing it.
That's the difference maker, isn't it? It's not just stopping someone, it's contributing offensively too. A true two-way effort.
And that performance was called critical in the Swans getting over the line. Especially since Sydney are in this position where they basically need to win every game 7 from 7 to even have a sniff of finals.
Yeah, it just underlines how vital a specialist role like that can be, especially when it's executed so perfectly. He's been massive for them.
Now let's zoom right in on a really personal story, a debutante's journey. Charlie West playing his first game for Collingwood.
Ah, yeah. The video excerpts give a great feel for this.
He said himself it felt pretty surreal walking out here for the first time. You can only imagine.
And apparently he wasn't too nervous during the week, which is amazing. But game day. Woke up feeling pretty nervous but excited. Just tried to chill out, see family, stick to his usual simple routine.
Simple routine, maybe, but the support was anything but small.
No kidding.
About 30 relatives flew in from Adelaide. Grandpa, cousins, the lot. His mom and sister actually changed their flights back from Europe to be there.
Wow. Dedication.
And his oldest brother, Jack, was in Amsterdam. But he was on FaceTime for the family photo, wearing a Pies scarf and hat.
That's brilliant.
And here's a little fact that popped out. Charlie West is the grandson of the former AFL CEO, Wayne Jackson.
No way. Talk about footy royalty in the family. That adds another layer.
It does. And then the big moment. The goal.
Oh.
He joined the famous first goal club.
An amazing moment. And he said he didn't even realize it had gone through at first.
Not until everyone got around me. Teammates like Q run a 30 k's an hour to celebrate with him. He said his heart's worn, just that feeling of pure exhaustion and joy.
You can picture it. Just sheer elation.
He talked about the step up from VFL too. Said it was high-speeded running, much more technical with like positioning and obviously playing against bigger names and bigger bodies.
That makes sense. It's a huge leap.
But he gave credit to the experienced forwards like DMAC, Checkers, Skunk. Said they were very good at guiding him, telling him where to stand, how to position himself.
That mentorship is so important for a young player.
And the feeling after the game, getting the win, getting the goal done and dusted, getting drenched with water in the team circle.
The Gatorade shower.
Yeah. And then joining the team song with his family, watching and singing along. It's just the culmination of everything.
His parents' perspective was great too. Called it a great opportunity, knew it was a big step up in speed and size, but were just proud that he competed hard.
And their reaction to the goal, just shouting, very exciting, unbelievable, pure parental pride.
18 years of hard work, they said, to get to that point. Pick #50 in the 2024 draft. And they praised Collingwood's support system too. Mentioned names like Dan McTade, Tim Mirabray, Checkers again.
The club sees it as just the first year of his apprenticeship, with more to come.
And that post-game moment with his family sounded really special. The love you boff, the simple, really proud of me mate you competed, acknowledging it was a great start, just a taste of AFL footy.
Yeah. He reflected later, watching it back, saying it's unreal, and he can't take that for granted. Just letting it sink in. What a story.
A fantastic glimpse into the debut experience.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
it really makes you think about that complex mix in the AFL, doesn't it? Talent, strategy, pure willpower.
Definitely.
From Collingwood figuring out their defense against tall forwards, to the whole strategy around player movement like St. Kilda's, even the league trying to manage rules like umpire contact. What does it all tell you about how the sport keeps changing?
Yeah, it's constantly evolving. How will teams and players keep adapting, both on the field with tactics and off the field with list management and navigating rule changes? And maybe for you listening, what stood out the most? Was it a tactical nuance, a player's journey, or something else entirely from this deep dive? Lots to think about.